Hello, everyone, and welcome to FECast, the official podcast of Friends of Eternal. Today's episode 14, is going to be about a topic that is on many people's minds, which is Burnout, with the number of recent tournaments we've had in Eternal. And I've got some very special guests with me to talk about it today. First, I'd like to invite back to the show back-to-back top 8 competitor from Team TRS. Welcome back and congratulations again on another great finish, TheBoxer. How are you doing tonight?
Great, thanks for having me.
My next guest has been a longtime member of the FE Discord and has been really active in helping people along in their Eternal journey and also helping me out with some administrative responsibilities. Reached the finals in the Throne Showdown this past weekend with a very unique deck. Congratulations and welcome to the show, Camomilk.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
And my third and final guest tonight is, I don't even know what to say, resident Burnout member, maybe? I think we're all feeling it a little bit. But welcome back to the show, Eric. It's good to have you back.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
All right, so let's first talk about the past tournament for just a little bit. TheBoxer, you not just made the top 8, but you made the top 4 of this tournament, playing a deck that almost everyone on your team played. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so it's an Origin port. I guess you call it Control. Yeah, it's a Sadidi deck that has the Press Gang for Urchin engine. It's like, it grinds really hard, and it has some ramp, and it has some Valkyrie synergy in it, and we decided to play it because we wanted a deck that was good against FJS and Combre, because we saw those as the two big players in the meta. And it's based on a deck Popotito built for the previous Throne ECQ. That deck didn't really work out before, but we tuned it up and got it working.
Yeah, and all of you brought pretty much the same build of it. And there was a lot of Combre in the field, including the eventual winner, Mule29, with the Combre ramp deck. So those two matchups were pretty good, but tell me, how was the mirror for that deck?
Oh, the mirror was awful. There were so many things that were wrong. Like, sometimes games just ended because some player had Sweetie. Other games, you would randomly draw your opponent's Destiny, Macto. Svetya was a losing proposition in the face of Urchin. There's just so many things going on that could just end the game.
In general, Sadidi mirrors are pretty abysmal.
Yeah, we got to see some of the tail end of hour-long mirrors with notorious GHP playing. I don't even remember who it was. It was someone else from TRS, of course. I kind of enjoy when games get that degenerate, but I know that that's out of some sort of, what's the word? Schadenfreude?
Yeah.
Anyway, congratulations on another strong finish. Camomilk, this is your first top 8, right? And you made it all the way to the finals. Tell us a little bit about this Even Shimmer Pack deck that you brought to this tournament.
All right, yeah. So this is a deck, I guess if you want to go in way back in history, there was an expedition tournament in a previous expedition format where mono time even-handed deck ended up doing really well. And when I saw that deck, I originally thought, well, gee, this is running a lot of the same creatures as the old Shimmer Pack decks from set 1. What if we did a Shimmer Pack deck? And so I tried this out, and it was okay. And then back in December, I kind of came back to that deck and added in a Sodi Spell Shaper, which ended up being a really great card in the deck. And I was running it on ladder and having really good success, and brought it to the ECQ tournament that month and just barely missed out on the top 64. So this month, I was thinking about what to play, and I still thought it was a pretty strong deck and thought, hey, why not? I'll give it a shot here. Tweaked the cards around a little bit, but ran back a very similar list to what I had ran previous. Worked out super well for me. Ended up placing second overall, which is by far the highest I've ever placed in one of these, so I was really stoked.
Yeah, what are some of the changes that you made from the last Throne tournament to the tournament this past weekend?
One thing I did in the last Throne tournament, I was running 3 Backlash, which was sometimes too many. I remember drawing all 3 one game, and it was really awkward. So I cut that down to just 2 Backlash, and I also went up an extra copy of Nash, so I was drawing that a little more consistently. And I threw in, instead of the Backlash, I threw in one more piece of interaction. I put the Ice Bolt in there.
All right, awesome. I think that you were one of the few people that were playing that deck. I think you convinced some people in the Discord that it was a good idea to play it. But aside from that, it wasn't on anyone's radar, and certainly wasn't a stock deck list. So that's great. Doing well in a tournament with your own brew. That's one of the best feelings in the world.
Yeah, that's what I figured. It was a deck that I had some success with on ladder, and I figured that other people wouldn't be preparing for that deck, since it wasn't a big meta presence. And it was also a deck that I was just really familiar with piloting, so it ended up being a good choice.
All right. Well, that was in the Throne Showdown this past weekend, the Throne Championships. In the Expedition Championship, we had another top 8 from friend of the show, Collector, who top 8'd with, looks like Skycrag Yetis. And that tournament was eventually won by Not Arg, playing an Argenport deck, but one that is reasonably separate from the one that Lights Out Ace won the previous week with. So, Not Arg, in addition to really everyone in the top 4 was playing Shadow, just showing off how powerful Shadow is as a faction in Expedition, and I don't think that can be denied by anyone. All right, let's go on to the main topic for today, and that is Burnout. So, for those of you who weren't paying close attention to what was going on this weekend, we had 2 tournaments back-to-back, essentially. It was madness. Saturday, there was a 15-round qualifier for a Sunday tournament, and then there was another one immediately after that on Saturday and Sunday. So the people that were playing in both of these would play 15 games of Throne and then 15 games of Expedition on Saturday. And if they qualified for both finals, both top 64s, they would have to play their showdown in the morning and then another one in the afternoon of the same day. And it was just a lot. I mean, that's a big tournament weekend. Now, I'm all for split format tournaments. I think those are great. I think getting a chance to have a tournament that features both Throne and Expedition, or both constructed and limited, is a good thing. This definitely felt like a lot. I think it's just more than we're used to, because someone brought up the fact that compared to Magic GPs, this is still not a ton. But boy, that was a lot of Eternal over the weekend, and by the end of it, I was ready to stop thinking about Eternal for a while. And I think that is true for a lot of the people that I've talked to. If you look around the Discord, we had a conversation about that a few days ago, and a lot of the very active members and regulars of the Discord talked about how they were feeling burnt out, and people from other Discords were also feeling. So what I want to focus on for today is what to do in order to combat that. I think that a lot of people that are burnt out, myself included, still love Eternal. Like, I love the fact that I've built so many relationships with other people in this game. And while I just foresee myself playing a whole lot more Eternal in the future, I just don't want to do it right now. And there is some incentive to keep grinding it out, because there are incentives to hit master and incentives to, win your first game every day. But I find that if I don't want to play the game, I just ignore those things, like first win of the day bonuses, the things that you're supposed to do, like watching Twitch streamers or completing quests. Instead, I just go on to do something else. When it comes to games, basically my rule of thumb is, if you're not having fun, then it's time to do something else until the game feels like fun again. So for those of you who have been paying attention to my stream, I haven't been streaming Eternal this week. And instead I've been doing other things, and I think it's been really good. And I think it'll be good for when I do come back to Eternal and go back to competing and streaming and everything that I do with regards to the game. How are you guys feeling with this? Let's start with Eric. I know that you've been away from the game for just a little bit now.
Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks. And, I couldn't agree more with what you said. The way I see it, if playing the game starts to feel like a chore, I shouldn't be playing the game anymore. I should be taking a break. I should be taking some time off. I should be doing something that I enjoy doing. And then, a bit later, if there's a tournament coming up or maybe a new set releases and I see some card that looks interesting, I start to want to play the game again, and then, I can start to enjoy myself again. But I have the incentive, not just to grind packs and shiftstone and gold, I have the incentive to grind QCP, right? Points for tournaments, to play draft, to get into the draft tournament, to get world seats. Like, those are pretty powerful incentives. But if it's a chore, it's just not fun, and I'm gonna end up, like hurting my relationship with the game if I force myself to play just to get into tournaments.
How are you feeling about this, TheBoxer?
Yeah, I'm playing a lot less. I'm not aiming for a buy this time around. It's just too much work. I'll play more when the new set is out. I'm less burned out than I was like maybe a month ago when like there was a time period where I just was not playing Throne because I didn't have fun playing it, or like I think I get more burned out on certain formats. It's like rare for me to be that burned out on Eternal as a whole because I need to be like solving problems or else things feel off for my brain, and Eternal like helps me get that fix of that.
Camomilk, after your top 2 performance, are you feeling burnt out?
After hitting top 2, I was sort of riding a high with like some adrenaline pumping through my veins, so I think I wasn't feeling it as much as a lot of the other people. And I also suspect that part of that is I did not actually grind to get a buy for this most recent tournament. So to me, it felt more like 2 weeks of some pretty heavy like action as far as the tournaments go and prepping for that. And it was a lot to jam into 2 weekends, but it didn't feel like 2 to 3 months of like grinding to try to earn a buy. And I feel like that may be where burnout is coming from for some people.
Yeah, I suppose so. Playing in the duels and expeditions every weekend, I mean, that's 42 games. That's more than ECQ. I think that is really what took a toll on me. I know that Eric got 1 buy. I got 2 buys. So yeah, it was a lot of playing.
I didn't get any buys, actually. I think I was like 5 points off of a buy, and then I messed up on my ladder ranking, something like that. Regardless, I probably wouldn't have played even if I got a buy. I'm really kind of tired of Eternal. For this month or so, I haven't quit the game, and this isn't actually a new thing for me. This has happened to me before, like a couple times. I don't know how it is for other people, but for me, it feels good to take a month or 2 off, and then you kind of come back reinvigorated.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you seen any of the previews for the new set, or have you just not been looking at them?
I've looked at a few of them. I take a look every now and then. I'm looking at this new Alluring Kirin, this 1-drop. I think it's the newest spoiler, and looks really interesting to me. So
yeah, some of the new cards. I mean, we're talking about Burnout here, but what you were talking about before about the game has a way of getting you excited for it again, and usually that's paired with the release of new cards, new sets. And that's absolutely the case. I mean, here I am talking about taking a break, and then I see these new cards. I'm like, ooh, I'm excited to play with these in like a week after not playing at all until then or something like that. So yeah, I mean, it just kind of goes into these phases. And I think another thing that you said was really important. You don't want to hurt your relationship with the game. If your memories of playing Eternal are forcing yourself to get that top 100 ranking, and I think that grinding for ladder ranking is like one of the most miserable things that you can be doing while playing playing games like this, yeah. Or whatever it is, whatever you're grinding towards, if that's what your memory is of playing Eternal, you're going to look negatively on it, and that's kind of a shame. So this actually reminds me of a weird happenstance that happened in my Magic playing career. I don't know how much people actually care about that, but I figured I'd bring it up. I used to play Magic really competitively. I mean, I've been playing card games competitively since 2011, and I spent about a year flying to GPs, like having a plane flight to a tournament that lasted the entire weekend, about once a month, and I was trying to qualify for the Pro Tour, which is basically this, I don't know, it's the highest level of competition for Magic, and I wasn't successful for like a year, and I was like, okay, I did this thing, I am happy with what happened, I don't want to continue doing this anymore. I wasn't enjoying Magic anymore at that point. And then I somehow qualified for the Pro Tour. Yeah, that was a crazy saga. There's more on that if people want to hear the full story some other time. But so at that point, I just didn't feel like playing Magic. They had this Pro Tour coming up, and if I did well, it would be awesome. But it wasn't what I was trying to do anymore. And I think that, spending the few days before the tournament on vacation or something, instead of, grinding to try to improve my chances of winning matches by a little bit was not going to be too helpful. I got to the Pro Tour. I didn't make day 2. There was a Grand Prix that I could have played at the Pro Tour in order to try qualify for the next one. This is the type of thing that I had flown to every month all year, the past year. And I decided not to. I played some side events, some two-headed giant side events, which is about as casual as it gets. And I had a lot of fun. And I think that, I don't know if it saved my relationship with Magic, but it definitely helped repair it. And I think that I look at Magic more fondly because of it.
Wow, that's a really interesting story. I really like that.
Yeah, those are some good points, and I think people are raising some really good points about, this is a game and we play it for fun, and if it stops being fun, take a break, like step away and clear your head. And sometimes you just need to take that time.
Absolutely, especially in an age where we have so many things vying for our attention, so many games that are trying to get us to play every day that have daily or weekly bonuses. It's easy for them to feel like chores, and I think that just if you get to a point where this is basically the underlying message of this episode. If you get to a point where you're not enjoying a game, put it down for a while and then maybe come back to it later.
Hear, hear.
All right, is there anything else we want to talk about?
I think we've covered the main topics we were going to talk about.
This is on track to be the shortest episode of FECast, which is perhaps appropriate considering we're talking about Burnout.
Yeah, exactly. That makes a lot of sense. Let's see. I will say I've seen a few spoilers for the next set, and I'm excited for that to come out whenever it does, in hopefully like 2 weeks or something. So,
yeah, it's so soon. It's amazing.
Yeah, I feel like it's a good time to just kind of sit back and chill. Don't like dedicate too much time to grinding ladder or anything, and let the new set drop and come back to it and check it out.
I suppose we could talk about like 1 or 2 of the new spoilers.
I really don't feel like it.
All right, fair enough.
I think that something that, while I feel burnt out on the amount of Eternal I've been playing, I feel like it's been really fresh as to what the Eternal I've been playing has been. Like, I haven't really even touched Draft for a really long time, and I think this is a good Draft format. I'm going to regret having not played it more, I think, when all is said is done, because I thought Decimate was really interesting. I think that is a good sign of what's to come. This is the first competitive season where we've had 2 formats, Throne and Expedition. And it has not felt stale to me, except maybe at the end of Expedition, where we have Argenport and Elysian. Well, I mean, Elysian didn't even do well, but like maybe at the end of this Expedition format, it felt like maybe it was getting a little stale. But for the most part, the Eternal I've been playing, it's felt great. It's not been feeling like I've been playing the same format for 6 months.
Yeah, with the Expedition, they had 2 tournaments with only a week in between. And so if you look at the top 8 of those 2 tournaments, they're very similar. But if you look at the top 8 of this month's Throne tournament compared to the last Throne tournament, which was 2 months ago, those are very different. Like the top 8 decks there changed a whole lot. So like things are happening. People are figuring out deck and figuring out the meta and bringing innovation.
Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like there haven't really been any new cards like that were added there were new cards that were added, but like there weren't really any cards that affected the format enough. It was just player innovation.
Yeah, I'm looking at the winning deck list, the winning Combray deck list from this past weekend in Throne, and it has no cards from the campaign. And the campaign mostly just impacted Expedition.
It impacted Throne too.
Yeah, only a little bit.
Endra just got nerfed before the next tournament happened.
yeah, we don't talk about that anymore.
Yeah, I don't think the latest expansion really had a large impact on the top 64 tournament. I did play against an Endra deck in round 1. Grimfan had a pretty sweet sort of Endra burn type deck.
Yeah, that is true. But I think it's a really good sign for Throne if essentially no impactful cards were added and 2 tournaments a month from apart from each other just have a totally different landscape as to what's doing well. I think that's a really good sign for the health of the format. Expedition maybe doesn't have that, but that's also a little more forgivable because Expedition is presumably going to change. I don't know what we're going to see from the next Expedition format, if it's just going to be the existing Expedition plus the new set or what. But we're talking about being burnt out for Eternal. While I don't feel like I'm going to be playing much Eternal in the next week, I think I'm still going to be playing a lot of Eternal in the next year, because I think that this tournament season has been really promising in a lot of ways. And I don't know. It feels to me that the player base is doing pretty well. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of reason to be positive about things that are coming up. I know a lot of people are feeling burned out about these tournaments, but it was also the first time that we had these quarterly tournaments. It's the first time for players to experience what it's like to actually try and grind and earn a buy, and like whether or not they want to do it again. And it's also for Direwolf Digital to figure out how many players are grinding, and like what are the responses to having these tournaments together. So I think they will listen to feedback, and I think we can be optimistic about the future of a competitive Eternal and seeing these tournaments thrive.
When you mentioned buy, that I thought of that I hadn't thought of before, just getting a buy is this alluring thing, and yes, it's nice, but really there's no shame in not going for it. A lot of people I know just like did not try for one because it's a massive time investment. Don't feel like you have to go to it. Go for it, or else you're not a competitive player.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. I did not earn a buy in either format, so I participated in the Saturday qualifying rounds, and I ended up qualifying and Throne and doing very well there. Obviously, as we said, I made it all the way to second place, but I didn't even qualify for the Expedition top 64. Didn't make the cut there. So I guess you could say not getting a buy hurt me by not qualifying for Expedition, but I don't regret it at all.
I actually wanted to build on something, Camomilk, that you said earlier, that this is, the first quarterly championship for Direwolf. This is still a really new thing that they've done. Like, they're still getting all this feedback from us. So I think it's natural that there are going to be some bumps and some flaws and some problems. And I didn't even play in the tournament, so I guess I don't know exactly how it was. But from what I've heard, it went, all in all, things were decently good. And so, yeah, I'm hopeful for the future.
Yeah, and I think that we're actually getting an update this week or next week about not only if there's a balance patch, but also how the quarterly championships are going to happen going forward. But then again, we've had our hopes up as far as communication goes, and it's been dashed before. So I'm not sure exactly. I don't want to get people's hopes up that we're going to, see the whole next phase of the plan as far as what's going to happen in the next few months. But I do think that there's going to be an announcement at some point in the near future.
They've gotten better that announcing when balance changes will happen rather than just saying tomorrow these cards are nerfed is
Yeah.
a huge quality of life improvement.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. Although it would be nice if they announced how many changes were happening in that week, because I think we had a balance change. We're like, oh, there it is. And then we had another one, and like, oh, there's two. And then we had another one, and it's like, oh, so many.
Yeah, as far as the outlook of the game goes, I think there's a lot of reason to be positive. They've upped the release cycle of the game. We're getting releases more frequently than we did in the past. And they've also upped the amount of competitive play that there is. Even if a lot of it is not broadcasted, there's usually some event going on in the client, especially if we have a return of melees and duels. So I think there's a lot of reason to be optimistic about Eternal, even if we're not planning on playing any in the next week. Let's just put it that way. Thank you all for joining me on this burnt out episode of FECast. As is always the case, I'll give you guys opportunities to plug things that are important, things that you would like to promote. Eric, let's start with you.
I don't really have anything to plug. I guess just thanks for having me. I really enjoy doing these. And yeah, I hope to be on again in the future.
Oh, right. Yeah, we were going to talk about tournament preparation and like how to tackle a big tournament and like how to stay in the right mindset. That'll definitely be in the future. I just don't think it's a topic that anyone wants to talk about or listen to right now. And I'll definitely be seeking you out for that one. All right, Camomilk, do you have anything to add?
I would say to anyone who's interested in getting better at Eternal and just meeting some other cool Eternal players, come hang out in the Friends of Eternal Discord. There's lots of conversation going on about deck lists and advice about making good plays and what kind of hands to keep, and it's a really good place to hang out.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've started a couple new projects in there. Why don't you talk a tiny bit about that?
I am planning to start something of like a club for people who just want to collaborate and try to help each other get better at piloting decks in Eternal. So it's still too early in the works to really have many details about that, but that'll be happening.
Yeah, we'll definitely have announcements on that and try to let as many people know as possible. But yeah, if you want to get better, definitely the Discord is the place to go. TheBoxer, anything you'd like to share?
Well, first I'd like to third the whole join FE. It's a great community. I got my start there, and then Team Rankstar, check us out. We have articles by a lot of great players. I write articles there too.
Yeah, you can read articles from players such as back-to-back top 8 competitor TheBoxer. All right, like I said, be sure to join the Discord. I'm not streaming right now. I'm taking a couple weeks off, but when I do, I'll be back on at twitch.tv/Sunyveil. Stream a lot of Eternal. It's a great place to hang out. Thanks for listening to FECast, and I hope that you're able to fight the burnout with things that you enjoy doing, like reading a book, going outside, sports, hobbies, music, whatever it is you enjoy doing. Do things that make you happy. Don't let all of these tournaments that have happened recently ruin your relationship with Eternal, because, I mean, Eternal's great. It's a great game, and you meet great people through it. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, we will see you in the friend zone. Are you looking for the best place on the web to discuss Eternal with other players? Well, you're in luck, because you just found it. The Friends of Eternal community exists to help players reach the next level of their game, whether they're just starting out, trying to hit Masters for the first time, playing their first ECQ, or even trying to take down a tournament. We're players of all experience levels, but we cheer each other on to succeed in our respective endeavors, whatever they may be. So stop on by the Discord and come hang out with us. Thanks for listening to FECast, and until next time, we'll see you in the friend zone.